by Yoshida-san. And Yoshida-san, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. I'd like to ask first if you could give us a brief explanation about what a Realm Reborn is.
はい、Final Fantasy シリーズの、最
So
新
this is the latest title of Final Fantasy series. It's an online MMORPG. Beta will be starting soon, and the game will be released worldwide and simultaneously in this summer. So please look forward to it.
です。ぜひ楽しみにしてください。
You came to this project a couple of years ago, and you had a very challenging subject to take over. Can you explain to us what those challenges were and how you've tackled the problem of reimagining Final Fantasy XIV?
やっぱり非常にハードなラウンジだったので
So yes, it was a very, very tough start. The launch of the original version was really tough, and especially because there were lots of people who loved Final Fantasy XI, and there were very high expectation with Final Fantasy XIV. However, once the game was launched, people were disappointed, and they were not quite happy with the status and everything. So the biggest challenge we were facing was to regain the trust from these players. So what we could do was the only thing we could do was making a great game, fun, enjoyable game. So step by step we managed to sort of do our best to make the game more exciting, and it was really great to hear the support from our players from all over the world, and that's why we managed to take this challenge.
チャレンジを続けられる大きな要因だと思います。
And with, I mean, that's a very daunting task to take over an entire world that has already been rolling for so long. I mean, how did you look at it in terms of characters, in terms of enemies, in terms of the design of the world? I mean, where did you start? Did you have a general game plan going forward?
いや、一番最初に行ったのはやっぱり今の世代の、ジェネレーションに合った MMORPG がそもそも何であるかっていう定義から改めて。
Well, actually, the first thing we worked on was to define what is the MMO the current generation players are expecting. So once I decided we're going to redevelop everything, we really needed to do what is the MMO, Final Fantasy MMO is going to be like for this current generation, and to start everything from scratch. So we looked into the game design and also the server architecture, and then to the characters and monsters, because server itself is very, very important for an MMO, and that's sort of to provide any kind of gaming experience you really need a steady, stable server. So that's something that we really worked on at the beginning.
エクスペリエンス届けるためには絶対にサーバーのシステムが安定している必要があるので、だからサーバーのアーキテクチャを一番最初に始めました。
You didn't just work on a Realm Reborn, as we heard during the presentation, you also were working on updates for version 1.0. Why did you decide to do that rather than perhaps just concentrating all your efforts on a Realm Reborn?
もちろんものすごいクレイジーなことは分かってるんですけど、やっぱり当時それでもなお
I know this sounds crazy, but at that point, well, even at the launch of Final Fantasy Original 14, there were a lot of people who believed in Square Enix and believed in this game, and they thought we can make it better. So I really didn't want to disappoint these fans who were supporting us worldwide. So rather than shutting down straight away and telling them we're going to redo this game from scratch, because these players sort of bought the package of the original version and sort of even prepared a high-spec PC in order to play this game. So what we wanted to do was to make the whole journey into a story. So while updating a 1.0 and sort of making towards the end of the world, and then so it naturally shifts to the new version. So we really wanted to make them enjoy the journey all together with us. So that's something that we focused on. That's why we did both updates.
そういうクレイジーなこともするのが
Also, I thought that kind of craziness is kind of Final Fantasy as well.
You mentioned during the presentation as well how, as a company, you would never give up on Final Fantasy, and this was like the biggest project you guys were doing because the concentration on getting this right this time around. Was it a case of working with your team along with the previous team that worked on Final Fantasy XIV along with, I mean, how many people were involved in this project?
Well, Of course, there are a lot of 1.0 staff working on this product as well, and also at the same time when I joined the project, there were quite a few staff brought in from other titles as well. For example, the director of Final Fantasy XII, Mr. Minagawa, is on board as well, and the staff from Final Fantasy V, VI, and also the main staff from Saga series as well. So there's literally there's a lot of people from all over the company have been brought onto this project. So officially, we are telling everyone that the project has more than 250 staff, and we've been told by the company not to tell the exact number. So you can assume there's more than that. And also not only with the dev team, but if you include the operation team, community team, it's really enormous number of people working on this project, and it's definitely worth it. And that's how we managed to come here in 2 years.
That is a lot of people. One group perhaps we should talk about is the fans themselves. Final Fantasy fans are very vocal. MMO fans are very vocal as well. What sort of interaction did you have with the community during the course of your redevelopment, and did you take on board perhaps their feedback and their issues?
そもそも今まで Final Fantasy XI を
Well, we have been supporting Final Fantasy XI for over 10 years, but we didn't have a forum, official forum. So what I did once I joined this project was to make sure the dev team and myself can sort of explain the players what kind of game we are aiming for. So I have been releasing producer letter approximately twice a month, and in that letter I can explain them what kind of updates we are going to plan and what kind of game and content we're going to be implementing, and also what we have been doing is to make this new forum. After 3 months I took over the project, I introduced this new official forum, and I've already sort of posted maybe 500 posts already, and I talked to my community directly, not only myself but also the community team. So we have a very close relationship with our community. I don't think any other MMOs have are actually listening to the community or feedback this much. So we have a really strong relationship with the community.
もあんまりないんじゃないですかね。直接かなりやり取りしてますよ。
Your fingers must be very sore after all the typing.
I'm really fast typer. I'm a very hardcore MMO player, so I'm really good at it.
What I thought was interesting was during the presentation you've mentioned how we're going to see elements of Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy VI, little bits and pieces, characters and locations that resonate with fans of the series for so long. Was that a conscious decision to try and draw people back in to Final Fantasy XIV by saying all these classic places? I mean, you mentioned Golden Saucer as well, to draw people back into the MMO.
2つ考えていて、まずそもそも
There are actually 2 points. What you mentioned, the bringing back old fans, is more like a second reason why we decided to do this. The first reason is because Final Fantasy series has 25 years history. So, for example, when Final Fantasy I was released, the child who was born that year is now 25 years old. So there's a really mixture of generations with this whole series. Of course, there might be some difficult to communicate depending on the language barrier, but then again, regardless of your age group or where you're living, there's lots of fans all over the world who can come into this game 24/7. So I think it would be really, really nice if these fans can talk to each other about their favorite series, favorite title, favorite episodes. For example, Crystal Tower. Maybe the older generation can say how difficult that was when they actually experienced it. And the new generation won't know, but it would be a nice way to sort of start the communication and conversation. So that kind of having a party together with different people and talking about Final Fantasy is the only Final Fantasy can bring this kind of experience. So that's why I really think it's a nice way to enjoy this game and the Final Fantasy series itself. And of course, if there are people out there who haven't sort of been playing Final Fantasy series recently. But by bringing in these nostalgic contents, I think it would be nice. Maybe they will come back and sort of see how that previous contents will appear in the latest graphics and the latest sort of situation. So I think that's another reason why we would definitely like to do this.
Can you illustrate for us, get in a bit more detail about the fighting system? We saw the comparison video between the original version and A Realm Reborn. Can you just give us a little bit more background into that?
一番その変わったのはそもそも、ちょっと、詳しい詳細なお話になってしまいますけど 1.0 っていうものがその必殺技を打つための
It's going to be a bit of a detailed explanation, but if I compare with the 1.0 version, initially, in order to use these special actions, you had to sort of gather technical points, TP, but to gain the TP, you really sort of keep on continually doing the auto attack and normal attack, and then that's sort of how you sort of gain the TP in order to use this special attack. But that means it could have been sort of like quite a long battle itself. So because it's Final Fantasy, I really wanted to have a lot of cool actions and very huge, nice effects straight away. So what I changed was that you will have the TP from the beginning. You will have the full TP from the beginning, and it's up to you how you use that. You have to use it efficiently and in a cool way. And so it's much cleaner and easier to use, but of course you will need to use these technical points cleverly, otherwise you might sort of use your energy straight away. So it's more speedy and it's less stress and it's more tactical, even it's casual battle system.
それによってそのバトルのテンポも速くなったしストレスもなくなったと思っているのでそこが一番大きな違いですかね。その上で先ほど
unique thing is the party play. To break the limit break, we are implementing this system called limit break, which might ring a bell. And as you saw in the trailer, that's something that we have as a new party play content. And each party has a common gauge, and in order to sort of get the points in this gauge, you will need to do fine play, like a nice heal, critical hit. Then you will get more. The gauge will sort of fulfill. And then once it's full, then you can use the meteor, if you're a black mage, for example, and use this limit break special action. So that's another unique content that we're bringing into the battle system.
Well, can you explain to us the controller setup? You mentioned during the presentation how the controller would work and you'd be able to map it. Can you just sort of illustrate how that system works?
まずそもそも設計の思想としてやっぱりコンソールのプレイヤーが
So what we had in mind from the beginning was to make sure the console gamers will have same experience as they usually do with any other games, FPS or RPG, and that kind of like natural feeling is something that we always wanted to make sure it's there. So although all the other MMO has mouse and keyboard global standard functions, we wanted to introduce a stress-free, speedy access with the console gamers. That's why we invented the cross hotbar, and although of course you don't have the point system with using the mouse, but you can sort of change the target and use R2, L2, R2 and use a command. Of course with the mouse and keyboard you have a shortcut and play the shift and press a button and shortcut, but we wanted to make sure the console gamers will have a very similar, close experience. So I think we've done a very good job, so I really hope console players will enjoy this.
思うのでぜひねコンソールのプレイヤーの皆さん期待してほしいなと思います。
This is a good jumping on point for new players, but for players who have stayed with Final Fantasy XIV since the start, is there any benefits, extra benefits for them continuing their quest on A Realm Reborn?
ARR を
Those players who subscribed for ARR and paid for over 3 months, we call them legacy players. Legacy players are entitled to have a discount as long as we sort of support 14. Also, they will get a special mount chocobo with different graphics, and also, if they would like to, we can have their name on the staff credits. And even those who are not legacy players but who purchased the 1.0 version, we will be offering the ARR client for free, so they can try out ARR version for free. And one more thing about the legacy players, they will actually experience a different storyline, slightly different from the normal storyline, so that's another interesting part for the legacy players.
楽しみにしててもらえればと思います。
You mentioned making this the graphical benchmark for MMOs. We're coming to a point now when this generation of consoles at least is sort of winding down. Are you thinking ahead for whatever might be round the corner and making sure that Final Fantasy XIV will be supported beyond this year?
やっぱり Final
Yes, Final
Fantasy
Fantasy is definitely, well, historically it's been a console-based franchise. But those console games, once it's out, you won't see updates, so it's like you will keep it as a nice memory. But this is an MMO, so it will be continuously supported and we can update the game. And so this is a Final Fantasy, of course. So in 5 years' time, when we support AR for years, and maybe in 5 years' time, we don't want the players to say, well, this game is 5 years old and it's looking a bit old. We don't want them to say that, definitely not. So what we're going to do is to constantly update their graphics and their game experience and always keep it up to date. So if the market sort of introduces higher spec, we will definitely like to be working on those as well.
Okay, if you could just mention for us and for our viewers about the beta tests and the phases and how they will roll out.
まずベータは4つのフェーズに
So the beta will be divided into 4 different phases. 1 and 2 will be closed beta, and that will be for Windows only. ARR has been built from scratch, so including the server system, client system, and the user interface. So we would like to sort of make sure we're going to fix all the bugs and adjust the balance at this stage. And we would like to make sure all the basic kind of system is done at this part. We have already started the registration for the beta, so from the people who registered, we would like to ask them to come to these closed beta and try the system out. Then beta phase 3, we will add more gaming contents. There will be more areas, so and also more people can join in, and not only that, PlayStation 3 people can join in as well. Beta phase 4 will be open beta. That's how we are planning to have the beta running.
形を今予定してます。
Thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.